asking Dr. Lee a while ago about bamboo, because bamboo, many people looks at bamboo differently. But another one is my comment. From the perspective of biodiversity, I think it's very difficult to come up with a definition that everybody agrees. Because if we try to come up with a definition that everybody can agree, I think we will be stuck on just defining what is forest. But I think from the perspective of ecosystems, biodiversity, it's enough that we could look at the forest as a complex system composed of several elements. But I think FAO could be a good start to work on. But from my own point of view, arriving at the definition of the forest, which everybody could agree, is not very relevant to me for as long as we are focusing on the job to enhance ecosystems biodiversity. Because you can increase your forest by simply modifying the definition. And I think this is the case, in our case, we tried to modify the definition, and from negative from a decrease in forest area, I think now, recently, Philippines is also increasing by a certain percentage. But if you are working on the ground, you know what is the condition on the ground. And I think the essence is that from the perspective of biodiversity, we just want to increase the biodiversity or complexity of the forest, restoring it as much as possible to its initial position. Because in the long run, the fundamental essence of sustainability is diversity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your point. That's why, yes, sir.
I have a last one. I fully agree with my colleague from Philippines. Anyway, what would really help if we have a kind of a chart where on the y-axis we put type of forest and on the x-axis we put the diversity index. For example, if you have a plantation forest, what would be the diversity? And that is where we try to understand this, how people can play with the definition and get away with what is not a forest. And in order to have a basic sound understanding of what is a forest and what is not a forest, I think we need to understand the types of forest. Now, plantation forestry is something that countries like Malaysia and all that, they are playing with. Do you think that it is a forest? I mean, if it is, it only contains one species. Is it a forest? This is the point I want to raise.
Formulation.
Yeah.
Right. Now, always remember, when you start to question things like this, you're putting a stop to what can become better. Then in each state of our land, we need a state of development. Now, in the course of development, in Malaysia, we have 60% forested area covered, including plantation 65. Yeah? But actually, natural forest, 50% in each state of Malaysia, declared 25%. Right? And then later I'll show you some that we have declared, and we are basically who own Biodiversity Convention. party, and we already rectified. Now it become a bill in our country, right? So in terms of biodiversity, we have clear conscience. We're doing our part because we are one of the 12 mega biodiversity country within the tropics. Yeah. But come back to plantation. Now plantation at this moment, when they start to get the land, in the early stage of the Malaysia history, we have 5-year plan. So every state need to grow, because you must understand our country is different. Federal law and the state is different. The state owns the right to decide what they want to do. You can say, but as far as we see our need, we can do, right? So at this moment, we are trying our best to come up with a better system. And we have, maybe afterward I can share with you if you want to know more. But it has to go to one ministry. So all the acts that in the federal and also the state is now being put under one ministry, called Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment. So we can't go through that ministry. Anything of cutting of forest is no. And one state is complete ban Islam, which is a different government now, which is opposition. So again, very important, as education level within the system increase, and people start to be more concerned about it. Our society is shaped by political will. So what we are doing here is basically on the part of education. If we are an institution that support, we are creating model to show to our country or neighboring country it can be done. That's all. You cannot do anything more than that. It must come from the legislative framework in order to make the country move. So as far as Malaysia is concerned, we are well aware of that. So when it comes to Plantation Forestry, a big plantation company at this moment, they are seriously considered, because a lot of money they put in to plant on the slope, more than 60% slope, they don't have yield. So they put it on a negative income. So I suggested to them, in the state of them, why not you plant next contributory forest species? You know, so while you keep those IUCN list or release of timber species or lowland species to be on the hilltop, so you can manage it sustainably. By so doing, you don't have to go inside. The state don't have to go in anymore to get the timber harvested from the forest reserve. Okay. So you're talking about, I appreciate, even though you guys, this FAO put this simple system, at least people who are in the desert area, they'll try to make effort to plant some tree and claim this is a forest, and it's compact desertification. So why not? So as a need arises, we must not quarrel over the definition, but as much as we can within our system, plant more tree and more tree each day as we grow older. I mean, encourage people to plant tree. As simple as that. That's all. After that, when you have tree, and then everything will come. Then you have green area. That's where all started is tree. When without tree, everything very tough. Yeah. That's all.
Very good. Any more comments? If not, allow me to continue my presentation. Just about ecosystem services. So, moving forward, so we have 4 types of ecosystem services based on the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment. So, first is the provisioning. So, these are products obtained from ecosystems, regulating benefits obtained from the regulation function of ecosystems, and then cultural, non-material benefits, and of course, the 4th, supporting services necessary for the production of all other ecosystems. These are a few examples, and actually you can think of others. First, provisioning service is food. So that's given. So raw materials for fuel, used for construction purposes, fresh water, and medicinal resources. Usually, being produced for traditional purposes or for as inputs to the pharmaceutical industry. Regulating services, local climate and air quality regulation, because well, that's related also to carbon sequestration and storage, moderation of extreme events, wastewater treatment, erosion, prevention and maintenance of soil fertility, pollination, and biological control. Cultural services, recreation and mental and physical health, tourism, aesthetic appreciation and inspiration for culture, art and design, spiritual experience and sense of place. Supporting, because ecosystems provide or serve as habitats for species, and also for the maintenance of genetic diversity. Of course, when we talk about ecosystem services and considering the emerging or the new initiative on the TEEB or TEEB, as mentioned by Dr. Monina a while ago, the ecosystems and ecosystems and biodiversity, we talk about valuation. So especially that the TEEB study highlights the economic benefits and losses of biodiversity conservation. And so these are a few values, estimated values for a particular ecosystem service. Let me mention the one, for example, here in the Loser ecosystem in Indonesia. So for water regulation, the net present value of water supply is estimated at $2.42 billion. And but this is quite confusing for some, especially that a few economic concepts and valuation methodologies come into play. So, but at least the attempt of the TEEB study also is to convince the unconvinced, like especially the targeting the policy or decision makers. So when we talk about figures or especially on the economic side of it, most often, well, those involved from the development sector would better comprehend. And just to close my presentation, these are quick facts provided. Well, this was also publicized last year when it was last year was the International Year of the Forests, and it highlights that over 1.6 billion people depend on forests, and trade in forest products was estimated at $327 billion in 2004. 8% of the world's forests are publicly owned, but ownership and management of forests by communities, individuals and private companies is on the rise. 30% of forests are used for production of wood and non-wood products, and forests are home to 300 million people around the world, and the annual value of wood removed from forests is estimated to be more than 100 billion. There are a lot of other estimated studies actually on the different forest ecosystems like mangroves, and we can find it in a lot of references, and studies are still ongoing. In fact, ACB, just to share with you, has launched an ASEAN TEEB scoping study. So this TEEB scoping study would like to gather evidences on ecosystems valuation arising from or based on results of studies conducted in Southeast Asia. So the result of this scoping study will be presented next month in Hyderabad, India, during the next conference of parties of the CBT. And these are my references. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Norman. And we have still 20 minutes before our time. So maybe we would like to hear some description of your forests. Yeah. Would like to share to us what the forests look like? Philippines? Maybe, okay. How about Oman? Could you tell, because at least the ASEAN countries know their forests. Maybe we will hear some conditions of the forest in Oman.
Thank you very much. First of all, I should say that Oman is a desert country. There's no forest. Yeah, but we have a small part in southern Oman, which is known as the Far Mountains. This area actually is affected by monsoon rain, monsoon ecosystem, which is during June, July, and August. So it's a small part of southern Oman actually affected by monsoon trade wind or monsoon winds coming from Indian Ocean. So during summer, because Oman, all Oman is very hot, in 45 degrees centigrade to 50 degrees centigrade now in Oman. But that part of the farm is looking like here, is green during summer. That is we call it a semi-forest. And the area of Oman, this small part of Oman, South Oman, is because of the effect of monsoon conditions, is actually supporting about 70 to 80% of all terrestrial species in Oman because of this small part of the semi-forest. And in total, northern Oman and southern Oman, there are 1,207 plant species. 1,207 plant species, which is up to, recent evaluation or, estimation of species and studies showing that 1,207 species of plants. Out of this, about 900 actually located in this small part of the mountains, which is semi-forest. So that is very crucial part. Unfortunately, because of the modern development, roads and population increase, as well as overgrazing in this area, most of these semi-forest areas actually are disappearing, and very fast. And most of these species actually now becoming endangered species. So this is very critical situation that we're having. And the government of Oman had tried to solve this problem of desertification in these areas, as well as the problem of overgrazing all of Oman. But the condition is becoming worse and worse always. There's one problem that people who are living in mountain, the far mountain, they like to keep big herds of animals like camels and goats. And there were a lot of conferences as well as studies and initiative to reduce the number of these animals and overgrazing. And the most recently, the government, His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, actually offered people should sell their animals to government. So they will give a very good price. But this is actually a side effect, because instead of decreasing, people now are increasing the number because they are giving good money to sell. So it's still up to now have no solution, but the problem of these semi-forest areas actually are becoming less. And estimated the studies or the area was covered by this semi-forest in 1987. There's a study of IUCN, actually they did a lot of study there. And the latest one, actually I was part of this study, also IUCN, I was the chairman of the committee for biodiversity conservation, which is between IUCN and the government Sultan of Oman. And the latest showing that between 1987 and 2009, the recent studies showing that about 60% of those forests actually disappeared. And now these are desert areas. So this is the situation of forest in Oman. Thank you very much.
So now experts this afternoon will hear some approaches to help Oman. Okay, let's go to Brunei.